Recently, there's been much news about North Korea and the threat of nuclear war.
Today, we want to share the news behind the news as we talk about a recent prophetic gathering that was held in South Korea.
Our guest today is Ryan Caldwell, who traveled with me to Korea. He'll share his thoughts on this powerful event.
Stay tuned. This is Lifeline Today.
Welcome to Lifeline Today. You know what a blessing to be able to come to you today via television and, to share with you. And we hear from so many of you, of course, through our prayer center. I want to just invite you that the prayer lines are open. They are open throughout the program. Lots of people calling, lots of ministry going on. Jill Mattis and her team are phenomenal. We have added phones, so that's helped the process some. And we've heard from many of you as partners as well, and we really do appreciate it. But we have a very exciting program today. We're going to talk about a recent trip that I took with my son-in-law, Ryan Caldwell, and we did share about this in a previous program, but I really feel we've got some great things to share today and some clips to show you because one of the things that Ryan said to me so often while we were there, we were together in these meetings, he said, my goosebumps have goosebumps, Welcome to the program, Ryan.
Welcome, Ryan.
Great, thank you.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, I finally get to be on the show.
Yeah.
Now, many of our viewers, if you've been familiar with us, you know that Ryan is our son-in-law along with our daughter who lead the music ministry in our ministry, both the church and through our conferences and national television ministry, and have been with us many years, but very powerful worship leaders. And it just so happened that this invitation came from David Damien for me to go, and we presented it in a meeting. I said, if you believe that this is God, that I should go, maybe make a special offering, special gift. Well, the money came in way more than I expected. It was very clear that God was in this because people just rose to it. But here's the interesting thing. In this same meeting, Ryan, you came up to me, and this was so touched me. I looked at your demeanor. It looked like you were almost like shocked or shaken or something.
Well, it wasn't so much shocked or shaken as just like, wow, I really heard from the Lord that I needed to come with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt that you needed an armor bearer
Yeah.
to join you, and I knew the significance of what was going to take place at the gatherings. I've only been to one other gathering, actually. This was my second gathering. My first one was many years ago in Edmonton, Alberta, but this one, I just knew there was something powerful.
This one was on steroids compared to that.
Oh, absolutely. So I just knew I needed to join you, yeah.
And I was really glad that you could go.
Yes.
Because I couldn't go with him.
It turned out to be quite providential, and Ryan, you and I were able to not only help each other through the whole trip. It was quite a travel schedule, but just the whole area of just experiencing it together and all of that, it was just really, really profound, and it so ministered to me that I said, I never want to go out alone ever again. I want to go and take somebody with me.
It's really
good. It just so happens that Ryan and I know each other so well, and we've done a lot of fishing together and whatnot, and that we were good companions, and ministry together that it worked out really well. But what we want to talk to you about today is, first of all, this is interesting. You had been to one gathering years ago in Edmonton, and then you were exposed to this larger gathering in Asia. And what was your first impressions of what you were seeing?
Well, my first impressions was, wow, this is as big as I imagined it was going to be.
Yeah.
Not just in the natural, but in the supernatural realm, because we know the significance of what's taking place with North Korea and South Korea.
Yeah.
And I felt that whatever takes place between North and South Korea, if there is a wall to be broken down, I believe it'll set a precedence for other nations and countries that have the same issues as North and South Korea. North and South Korea, I think, is one of the biggest of them all, of course. But also the fact that knowing that North Korea is very strict and number one for
Oppressive.
persecutions and killings of Christians there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you're a worship leader, so I want to ask you the question, and we're going to show a couple clips we put together of some of the worship that was there. And I want to ask you how that affected you, but maybe we can go to those clips right now first of the worship leading. Could we do that?
Things obvious there is that actually there's lyrics for 4 different languages that appear on the screen, and at that moment they were probably singing in Korean, but they would do it in English, Korean, and Mandarin, and all these different, sometimes German.
Yeah.
So it was really something. But you just said something while we're watching that. You said, "Oh, that doesn't do it justice."
No, it really doesn't. I mean, you have to be there, just like a concert or anything else.
Yeah.
You can watch someone's videotaping of it, but to actually be there was the spirit of the whole thing.
But tell us then how you felt and what it was like for you when you were there and in the midst of that powerful worship that was going on.
Just the sense
like
of
upwards
unity.
of 10,000 people there.
Just the sense of the unity amongst you know, the people attending there, and of course the band, and they had all kinds of different singers, and everyone took turns leading, and of course different backup singers sang in different languages, of course, so that's why you heard whatever, I don't know if that was Korean or Mandarin we were hearing there, but they took turns in English, Korean, Mandarin, whatever else, and so everyone it was just everyone carrying the load of the service together, like in unity, and then you have the crowd that's in unity and worshiping in spirit.
And there was quite a large band, musicians, weren't there? There was, I don't know, there was probably
Also
over 20 to 30
musicians.
musicians up there,
Yeah.
and which alone was phenomenal, really. And what an amazing experience that was. You know, one of the things that happens at a conference like this, because it has a prophetic purpose ultimately, and that's not even fully predetermined, right? When you go there, we just know you're gathering for a prophetic purpose, that there is an emphasis on praise and worship, and the worship tends to go from just, hey, we're singing a song, into something far deeper, far more influential.
Right.
You can tell it's having an impact not only in the natural realm in the room, but it's going beyond that in a spiritual dimension.
And it's just waiting. When you're singing, then you wait. Don't, like you said, don't force it. And these guys, I mean, I think maybe each service they'd sing a couple songs, that's it.
Yeah.
And they just flow with that song, and then there'll be a prophetic move of something that would come up that would be for that occasion in that particular meeting, in regards to, you know, breaking down the wall as they were praying to break down the wall between North Korea and South Korea.
So it moves then into what we call prophetic intercession.
Right, exactly.
Right?
It's the two combined.
Yeah. Now, you know, we did experience other things because you and I went into the leadership meetings before the services. The services, by the way, started at 10 and finished at about 10. I think it was something like that. But you know, I have to say that when you're in that environment, it doesn't feel like that. It's not like that. It's phenomenal.
No, when you know there's a sole purpose, and of course there's sole purpose, no pun intended, Seoul, Korea. The purpose of praying over North Korea. It really, you're not there to spectate. You're there to participate in prayer. And in worship, and you know, you're just one person amongst thousands. It's like, well, how does just one person make a difference?
Yeah.
Well, you do.
One will chase 1,000.
One will chase 1,000, two will chase 10,000, right?
That's right.
So
There's great power in that.
So don't ever feel discouraged, or anyone watching the show, and you feel like, well, I'm just one of thousands. You know, you still can make a difference in
Well, we
prayer.
did have another clip of when you were in the prophetic worship of breaking down the walls, and you can watch what the
This
what's
happened
happening
more
in the
than
crowd.
once.
Yeah.
There was one
It was
occasion where there
powerful.
was a piece of the Berlin Wall. There was another occasion where the German worship team, or just a couple of the German worship team, got on the keyboard and he began just singing.
The keyboard player was German. He was from Germany.
He was German, and he was started just singing "Break Down the Wall." It was a song of the Lord, and it went on for quite a while.
A long time.
But I remember just feeling the hair on the back of my neck raised because it was so powerful. You could, it penetrated. It just wasn't a song; it just
It was
penetrated.
penetrating the heavens.
We should watch this right now.
Right now, there's a German worship leader that began to sing about break down the walls. And then they called up the German delegation here because their nation was divided by a wall. And now they're addressing the wall that's between North and South Korea and calling it down in the spirit. So really quite profound what's going on here.
That clip probably doesn't do justice to what was really going on there. It was really quite amazing. And there was people going around the keyboard player who was singing, and they were praying for him because of the intensity of this. If you weren't really being prayed for in hell, the exhaustion that would come through that, it was not something that you would say is easy to do, let me just put it that way, but profound. And then this whole room was so focused on this. And you know, no one said at the beginning, well, this is all about North and South Korea, because it actually didn't. It covered other things, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
There were issues from mainland China, issues from Japan, and there was reconciliation.
Yep. Yeah. There was a pastor from Japan who offered a proposal to Korea saying, you know, we want to be married to you, not physically married, but in a spiritual sense, that they wanted to connect
Metaphor.
with Korea. Yes, exactly.
And they first repented for some of the atrocities that
was done to the Koreans in
Yeah,
pre-World
in
War
World-
and World War. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That was something that really came to mind when we were there, that there were Japanese believers there as well. But Japan had committed some atrocious acts against the Korean people, the Chinese people.
Even Chinese, yeah.
And so they did that. Now, you know, when you have a prophetic reconciliation like this, it's actually representational. There were many millions involved, but you're representing reconciliation. And this Pastor Ito that you're referring to, she's really a real sweetheart. Somebody had to interpret for her, but she got up and said, she says, I have never been married because no man has ever asked me. That was what she said, you know. And everybody felt real sympathy for her all of a sudden. But then she
Poor
did
thing.
this. She was a very gracious lady, I'm going to tell you. And then she, of course, did this proposal, and it was metaphor again. You know, it's a prophetic picture, and it was very touching. I mean, it meant a lot to the Koreans that were there. 80% were probably Korean in the meeting, and to the mainland Chinese, which is another issue, wasn't there? The mainland Chinese that were in the meeting.
Yes, and there was fear for a number of them that they may not be able to return without being persecuted, because I guess the Chinese government was thinking this was some kind of a propaganda against their government.
They thought it was more political
Yes.
than spiritual.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were a number of, we'll talk a little more about this when we come back, but there were a number of Chinese, mainland Chinese pastors and people from China, and they were warned before going to Korea that if you go, your life will be in jeopardy.
Wow.
And then when we come back, we'll share something so extraordinary that happened. And Ryan and I were eyewitnesses. We saw this, and we saw the response of the mainland Chinese leaders when this announcement was made. It was It was really actually heartrending. In fact, there were a few moments like that in the gathering when the North Koreans also heard the governor of Jeju Island speak, and such a deep reaction. You could feel the pain of the persecution and oppression that these people had endured. Right now, we're going to share this with you. We'll be back with Ryan.
You can help change the spiritual climate of Canada by partnering with Lifeline Today and receive some thank you gifts from Dick and Joan DeWert. Partner at $25 a month and receive Dick's CD message entitled Embracing the New, a dynamic, faith-filled message that will set the stage for you in 2018. Partner at $50 a month and get the CD message and Joan's new booklet, 5 Hours in Heaven, telling of her visit to heaven. It's glorious, encouraging, and will thrill you with details of our heavenly home. Partner at $100 a month and we'll send you the CD, Joan's book, plus his beautifully bound leather journaling Bible. Joan will personally sign your Bible and include a note of encouragement just for you. Don't wait. Call now with your partner pledge at 403-942-0123. You're invited to Dominion Conference 2018, Hope for the Nation, June 29th to July 2nd in Lethbridge, Alberta. This will be a pivotal time for Canada's prophetic gathering as together we release a fresh word over our nation. Hosts Dick and Joan DeWert, welcome guest speakers evangelist Joelle Spinks, the always prophetic Craig Buroker, revivalist Sammy Robinson, and founders of the National House of Prayer, Rob and Fran Parker. In addition, Joe Goslin returns with The Joe Show, a dynamic ministry just for the children. Registration is free to Dominion Conference with a $20 fee for those wishing to attend the Friday noon leadership luncheon. Seating is limited, so call today and reserve your spot at Dominion Conference. Call 587-425-5730 or email info@dickandjoan.com. For details on location or accommodations, visit our website at dickandjoan.com. Make plans to attend Dominion Conference in Lethbridge, June 29th to July 2nd. It's Canada's time.
We had a powerful time last Dominion Conference, and as you can see, we're having it again June 29th to July 2nd. But there was such a powerful impartation, and there was a fresh prophetic word about enlarging and expanding our focus not only to Canada but way beyond, and raising up many sons and daughters to do that. And since that time, a number of supernatural things have happened including this meeting that we are talking about today on this program. One of the things I want to connect you to this is that what God is doing in the nations, God is going to do here.
That's right.
You know, there's this outpouring of the Holy Spirit that has happened. Some of it started in North America, but in North Korea, actually when Korea was combined, it started in Korea in 1907. Did you know that Korea is very close to 30% Christian and the second largest missionary sending nation in the world? It all began with a revival in 1907. Believe this or not, it is in the North Korean capital where this began.
Yeah.
Pyongyang, is it? Pyongyang. And that's where it began, and it affected the whole nation. There are the largest churches in the world are in Korea, South Korea. And so the atmosphere there is significant. And I really sense that the prayers of the South Korean church are one of the reasons this gathering had so much, I guess it would be momentum. That what I'm talking about to really change the atmosphere. Now, when we left off, we were talking about the Chinese believers, and something very unique happened in the leadership meeting that you and I went to.
Just as the meeting was wrapping up, the pre-meeting was wrapping up, they received news that China had abolished the
Religious Bureau,
so that
which is the one that persecutes these Chinese believers.
Right, and I got to think that it's because the premier of China, he extended his stay as premier of China.
He put himself in for life.
For pretty much a lifetime. So I think he viewed that as a threat. And decided to get rid of that. Now, where things stand now, we don't know, but it was a relief for those who were in attendance.
But the response in our meeting was almost extraordinary.
Wow.
It wasn't
Tears.
just like joy, it was wailing. Some fell on the ground, and then we heard after the fact that some of them were thinking of seeking asylum because their lives had been threatened for coming to this. One of the things I want to say about that is that it just brings home the fact that believers in other parts of the world literally pay with their lives to serve Christ.
That's right.
And I think in North America it's just a little too easy, and we don't appreciate the depth of what our faith really means. But that was very clear there, wasn't it?
Very much so. The mindset there is as you said, you're truly living for Christ. You're going beyond your conveniences to be able to serve Him. Whereas here, we have all the conveniences in the world, and unfortunately, a lot of the conveniences in North America take away the hunger that God seeks from
How
us.
did this whole thing, Ryan, really change your life? You said you came back changed.
Well, yeah,
What
it really
happened?
it impacted me greatly. You know, I talked about, you know, I said, Lord, forgive me. On the plane, I said, Lord, forgive me for not hungering enough, like the hunger I saw with the Asians, you know, the passion in them. You know, the Lord says that, you know, the Lord limited all the laws. Moses started with 613 laws, and Jesus narrowed it down to 2. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
Exactly.
And I said, Lord, I know I've loved you to a degree with my heart, with my mind, and with my soul, but I don't think I've ever really loved you with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength at the same time. And I repented. I said, Lord, I want to live passionately like these
And I know that the
people.
next Sunday when you were up on the stage leading worship, and one of the songs as we were going to be taking communion, Ryan was leading the song, and all of a sudden you heard nothing, and I know Dick turned around and you were weeping. You were just
what was that song?
overtaken by the presence
Jesus
of God.
paid it all, I think.
Jesus
was
paid
the-
it all.
and it just, He did.
Yeah.
You know, it just hits.
So,
It just hits you.
yeah.
I hear
hard,
that
you
the
know?
room goes into silence. Well,
rest of
the
the-
song leader's not singing and he's crying, you know.
I know.
It was awesome. It really
was
touched us.
really
Yeah.
awesome, but
Yeah. And you know, interestingly, that was Easter weekend that you're talking about. Easter weekend, there was we just learned there was a meeting between the head of the CIA, is it, or Pompeo, and with the North Korean leaders in, I forget where, but it was probably in North Korea. That took place that weekend, and now we're just hearing about it much, much later. But I thought right away, we're seeing things happen that we were praying for in this meeting.
Yeah.
And one of the clips we want to show for is now prayer for South Korea.
and it's really intense, powerful prayer.
These people, well, you know what? Korean pastors say this. They said there's many gifts in many nations among churches. The gift that God has given to the Korean church is fasting and prayer. And
Intercession.
And they're serious about it. Let's watch this.
Lord, you gathered us here.
하나님 마음 안에는 분리가 없습니다.
In your heart, there is no division.
이미 저 탈북한 분들이 한국 남한으로 나옴으로 인하여 아버지 우리는 북한과 남한이 그들 안에서 이미 하나가 되었습니다.
Lord, Korean brothers and sisters came to South Korea, and we already became one in this place.
아버지 사랑을 위하여 왔던 아버지 당신의 귀한 자녀들이 여기에 왔사오니
They came to South Korea to find out the true love.
그들을 아버지 이 자리에 오게 하셔서 하늘에서 주시는 결코 분리가 없는 하나님 아버지의 사랑이 그들 가운데 본받게 하여 주시옵소서.
We ask you to pour out your love upon our brothers and sisters from North Korea.
사람의 힘과 능이 아니라 오직 여호와 하나님 아버지의 사랑, 아버지 우리의 그 주님의 그 사랑만이 이 분리를 하나로 할 수 있습니다.
Only your love can make us one, Lord.
우리가 오늘 이 말하는 과정 가운데 저들 안에 아버지 탈북할 때에 견딜 수 없었던 그 고통의 트라우마.
There
Wow.
again, that clip does not do that justice.
No, but
And-
you can see the intensity by which they pray. I mean, they are so desperate for God to change things.
You know, the one meeting when the governor spoke, and he just happened to mention the North Korean leader and gave him his title, general, using protocol. But just that alone brought such a strong reaction from the North Korean defectors that were in them. There was about 50 of them. Just mention what you saw there.
Yeah, it was about 40 or 50 of them there. But there was, when he got up to announce that he had provided opportunity or sent a communication to the U.S. and North Korea that they could meet on Jeju Island as one of the places. I think Sweden, Switzerland was one of the other places. So for him to announce that and then hear him referred to as general, that stirred a couple of North Koreans' hearts.
It was wailing.
And they were shouting, but then they came up, David had them come up the next day to share their hearts. These same people to share their hearts.
To share their pain.
To share their pain and the atrocities that they went through. Which it's something to hear when you're in person as opposed to if you just hear it on the news or if you read about it. But when you hear it straight from the person's mouth, what they dealt with in North Korea, it's just, it really, it pains your heart. And David, I was really appreciative how David approached this, because when we had a powerful time of prayer just before, and then he let them share, and then
very painful.
And I were like, wow, this kind of brings it down some. But then David did a great job saying, look, we need to allow family to speak their pain. If we're going to accept them in, we need to give them a platform. And this is probably the first time they've ever had a platform to really share their pain.
Yeah, that's true. So would it be correct to say that was your faith encouraged to see what God was doing in other parts of the world?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it takes you out of your own little bubble in your own little town and, and country.
I think everyone in North America, frankly, needs to go to other parts of the world to see what God's doing.
Yeah.
Because it'll shift your perception. And I have some good news for you. God's not done with Canada. You may seem or perceive that the churches are going, and spirituality. Actually, the word the media uses is that North America is post-Christian culture. Post means it's gone, it's over. No. You know what? God is not finished yet. There is something coming upon us, and I believe it's this. I believe that the move of God that's happening in all the earth, and I'm telling you, there's some things things that are so beyond description happening in Middle East and in Southeast Asia and then in the part of the world we were in. They are so phenomenal. The largest church in the world is in mainland China, where there's extreme persecution. Yeah. The largest church in the world. And I'm telling you, it's coming from there to North America. God is going to visit this land. And I want you to be a part of it. That's our mission here. We're passionate about that here.
We are.
I want to thank you for sharing, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for being the best travel companion.
Hey, I loved it. It was a fantastic time.
I liked the fact that we had similar tastes with the food. We tried the Korean cuisine, and the next day when we were going to have a second, I leaned over to Ryan and I says, I don't have the heart to do this. And we both, no, we don't, and we didn't. Anyway, thank you for being on the program. Thank you for joining with us today. Remember this, God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
This program is supported by viewers like you, and we thank you for your partnership. We want to hear from you. Send us your prayer requests, praise reports, and comments on the program. Be sure to visit our website for up-to-date information or get in touch with us by email or phone. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Dick and Joan are now available for conferences and events in your area. To book them for your event, call 587-425-5730 or email info@dickandjoan.com.